I was sitting there thinking about all the most recent Call of Duty games. Modern Warfare 2019, Cold War, Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, Black Ops 6, and then I had to stop and do a double take. I forgot about Call of Duty Vanguard, as do a lot of other people. This is one of the very few COD games that I've never played before, so I guess it makes sense to why I forgot, but how come everyone else does? Is this game terrible or something? No one ever talks about this game or even seems to care about Vanguard's existence, so this immediately intrigued me. I wanted to get to the bottom of this, and today I'm hoping I can get the answer to why no one cares about Call of Duty Vanguard. We will start out with the multiplayer, the original magnum opus for Call of Duty, and I'm sure that's what you play and definitely what I play first when opening up one of these games. My expectations for it were middling. Call of Duty has an experience you can expect upon purchasing it. Sometimes features can change, but that core gameplay always stays the same. Running around, killing people, leveling weapons up, finishing challenges, getting camos, the typical things that make Call of Duty, Call of Duty. But that stuff aside, there's always something memorable that elevates each of these games to some capacity, regardless if it's considered bad or not. If you take Call of Duty Ghosts, for example, a lot of people hate that game, yet the perk system was praised for being unique. Also, the squad point system was a different approach of unlocking weapons and attachments. Those are the things of Call of Duty Ghosts, making it stand out. Black Ops 2 was the first game to implement score streaks. World War II had the division system, which was terrible at launch, and thankfully they overhauled that. There's always a feature in these games to create memorability and allow them to stand out to some capacity, no matter how much that expected gameplay is shoved into our faces. Being able to differentiate the experiences between each game in a franchise that has borderline similar gameplay from release to release is kind of important. So when I was playing Call of Duty Vanguard, grinding it out, just going through the motions, I couldn't find what that thing is. What is it about Call of Duty Vanguard that would truly stand out and make someone remember it? Well, we have operators with leveling systems, one that's not really engaging or fun to look into. Most of these are just random people. I do applaud them for giving little cutscenes and bios to these operators, but why would I ever want to be invested into a character that we all know won't ever come back? Call of Duty is not a multi-year game that stays around. It's the fast food of gaming. You get your meal, eat it, and move on when the next one comes. Of course, the idea of leveling up your character is fine. If your game is predicated on character specialties, heroes, what have you, it makes sense there. A lot of team shooter games do this. The closest we had to personalities is Black Ops 3 or 4 because of specialists, and these weren't just random characters. Our choice put a tangible difference in our gameplay, allowing people to connect with them at a surface level. Even still, people don't remember their names half the time. How many times have you talked to someone where they called Battery War Machine or Spectre Ripper? They just remember the weapon, not the character. So here in Vanguard, they just gave personalities to a bunch of planks from Ed, Edd n Eddy, then called it a day. After I shut the game off, the only character I could remember the name of is Seraph, because she is from Black Ops 3 and 4. Other than that, I can't remember a single one. And sure, you can unlock outfits from leveling these people up, which is cool, but also like hero skins from Black Ops 3, a game that did the whole personality thing better. I struggle to find a reason why anyone would truly be invested into the system for Vanguard. Like, it doesn't matter who you play as, your gameplay experience is exactly the same, in turn making the impact of your skin and leveling these characters up be negligible. Who cares about a grinding path for a character you won't even remember the name of, since there's no reason to, making this whole system forgettable because the characters are forgettable. The other unique trait I found in Vanguard's multiplayer was being able to select combat pacing, which is essentially choosing if you want like 6v6 or 10v10, which on paper sounds like a good idea, but why not just have them as separate playlists? Like, it literally does the same thing. We've seen Ground War numerous times throughout Call of Duty history, where you select it, you go against more people on 6v6 maps, and if you just want regular 6v6, you queue into the normal team deathmatch or whatever you want to play. It's as simple as that. To me, this combat pacing came off as like, hey look, it's something new, when it's not really new. It's not a bad addition to the game or anything, since some of these maps are very large and having 10v10 on them makes ones like Red Star more playable. It just feels pointless to have included overall, since again, playlists do the same thing. There will be people who only want to play 10v10 or only 6v6, so they are going to have what they want selected. I'm struggling to wrap my mind around why this was included in the game. I'm not sure how other people feel about it. Combat pacing's inclusion just makes no sense to me. It just feels like a glorified way to put separate playlists into the game so you can call it a new feature. These were the only two new or interesting things included for Vanguard's multiplayer that are worth mentioning. There's also a thing with being able to break little wooden walls, opening up new lines of sight, but I found it just got in the way most of the time, messing up the flow, and is the definition of a gimmick. I actually forgot to mention it in the initial recording, and I'm adding it in afterwards. That's how memorable it was to me. The additions Vanguard had were just not creative. The closest thing I would call effort is the leveling up operators thing, and if people want to give a bone to Vanguard for it, I can't blame them. I just don't see it that way. But the others come off as things that are like, what should we do here? Let's put this thing that's like similar to playlists, but call it something different to market it as a new feature. Oh, cool, just stick it in. Even the breaking walls, like the pieces of wood could not exist and nothing would change. It doesn't impact our gameplay at all. You can't do anything creative or fun with it. I can't believe I'm saying this, but the fucking doors in Modern Warfare 2019 had more creative usage than this does. But if we move on and look outside of the features we mentioned, since they aren't really impactful additions to the core experience, and just look at the game itself, I noticed Vanguard feels almost identical to Cold War. The perk system, weapon handling and feel, the gunsmith. Sure, you can have 10 attachments this time around. It's cool, I guess. The premise is exactly the same, though. Streaks went back to being kill streaks for whatever reason. Kill streaks are a horrible design, by the way. Stop doing that. We figured out in Black Ops 2 that score streaks are much better for the game overall. But the gameplay feel especially is exactly like Cold War, just with a World War II skin on it. It stuck out to me that there's no distinct character for this game. Something I really started to notice after a few hours. People have always said Call of Duty is the same game every year, which is true, but not really. If you actually look at almost any of these games, Modern Warfare 2 feels radically different from Black Ops 1, Black Ops 4 to Modern Warfare 2019, and hell, even Modern Warfare 2019 to Cold War. The experiences are very different. There's only 2 times previously, after COD 4 at least, where a release back-to-back felt similar, and it was World at War releasing after Call of Duty 4, and Infinite Warfare releasing after Black Ops 3. Still, both of those games stood out in their own way. World at War is remembered because of its character, the campaign, zombies obviously, the grittiness, voice acting. The way it was designed made a game that is almost a clone of COD 4 stand out when it shouldn't have. Infinite Warfare is remembered because that was when the community backlash against advanced movement happened, having one of the most disliked videos in YouTube's history. Also, the zombies is praised a lot too. As I said in the beginning, I have never played Vanguard before. This whole game was supposed to be quote-unquote new, yet I felt absolutely nothing while playing the multiplayer. The only time this has ever happened to me. I wasn't having fun, I wasn't irritated, and I wasn't bored either. I just felt like a mindless drone running around playing Call of Duty. There was nothing extracting any emotion from me. I wasn't hyped up getting streaks, mainly because they are terrible. These have to be the worst streaks in Call of Duty history, honestly. Never in my life have I called in attack dogs on a small map and got 0 kills until I played Vanguard. When I died on streaks, or even went on them, just, yep, whatever, leveling up, it's cool, I guess. As a player, you're just going through the motions, grinding a camo, finishing a challenge, getting XP, leveling up, which is just sad. Like, those are supposed to be an additive to the fun, not the fun itself, and I wasn't even having fun doing those things. And why the fuck am I even gonna be excited to level up anyways? To use a field upgrade that I just used in the game before this one? Or unlocking a streak that won't do anything? Or get this, leveling up a gun and using what is essentially the same exact class system for the 3rd year in a row. A simple change up, like putting pick 10 in, or pick 13 if they wanted to do it like Advanced Warfare. That would have made Vanguard stand out more. Yes, it has been done before, but after 2 games in a row with basically the same class systems, having a change would have been a welcomed illusion of difference. It wouldn't make this game feel like something I've already played before. There was nothing pulling me in. It felt as if they were just taking a bunch of features and putting them all together because they couldn't come up with anything original on their own. Like, oh, let's have a mini-map that doesn't work by default because Modern Warfare 2019 did it. Let's make sure we have faster gameplay because Cold War did it. We need a gunsmith because the other games have it. Let's copy almost every field upgrade from Cold War. If you took off the Call of Duty logo and told me this was one of those knockoff games from China, I'd believe it. Nothing about Vanguard sets it apart from any game before or even after it. We're essentially playing what is a watered-down version of Cold War and Modern Warfare 2019. All this game has to stand out is the core gameplay, and when all you have is something we experienced in every game before this one, you don't stand out anymore. You feel like a game that we've already played. There needs to be a flair or creative charm like I mentioned in the beginning. If we look at Cold War for a second, to me, this is a very bland game, but that game being a contrast of Modern Warfare 2019 made it feel different and made it stand out. Going from game to game, you felt either, oh, I prefer the Modern Warfare 2019 gameplay, or I hate Modern Warfare 2019, this feels faster and better. There was an emotion evoked out of you. Then the stupid every streak is a support streak thing. These aren't the largest aspects in gaming as a whole, it just made Cold War feel like its own thing, giving it a bit of character when it otherwise wouldn't have it. But if you go from Cold War to Vanguard, what's the difference? The games feel so similar to each other, just with a different skin on it. As you play Vanguard as a first-time player, you see more and more why people forget about it, because all you feel is apathy. It can't just be me. Like, no one ever talks about this game, and this must be the reason for it. Players must have felt bored, thinking, I've already done all this before in the last 2 games. Kind of feeling like the game wasn't released for people to have fun with, and to funnel them into a certain mode. I think this game shows what the real issue with modern Call of Duty multiplayer is. They just don't give a fuck about it, and all they care about is Warzone. This game was not released for players to really invest themselves into and be like, wow, 5 years later from now, I'm going to have fond memories of this one, or be someone's favorite entry since sliced bread. It was designed to funnel people into Warzone. That's it. Play and level your guns up, then go back to Warzone. Regular multiplayer is just an afterthought. It really is. From a business perspective, I get it. You know, Warzone is way more popular than 6v6. It being free obviously has something to do with that. But a game like this is really a slap in the face for anyone who doesn't want to play Warzone. Vanguard feels like a game that no one wanted to make. They just made it because they have to. And when it comes to creative projects like art, video games, or any type of media, you can really see and especially feel when the team or person does not care. Hence the apathy that I felt the entire time I played multiplayer. Vanguard is the most vanilla, bland, soulless video game I've ever played in my life. There is no soul behind this game. To quote the legendary James Somerton expose video with a slight twist, I never thought video games could have a soul until I played one that didn't. I'm really not shocked to why no one talks about this game's multiplayer. Some blame the boring nature on the time period because World War II is kind of bland when it comes to creative agency. You don't have many options there, but I don't think that's entirely fair to say. Plus, Vanguard isn't even authentic anyways. There's a laser gun, and I think this is the F-2000 in World War II. But in comparison to all of the Call of Duty games that have ever released, after everything we talked about in Vanguard's multiplayer, what would somebody remember Vanguard for? We got a game that comes off as being too scared to be itself. I know people would say the operator leveling is an attempt to build character for the game. Again, though, you're not getting invested into the character because there's no reason to. You're just following a grind path. It would be unbelievably difficult to find a person who actually cares about any operator from Vanguard. Yet, you can find people who genuinely like Spectre or Firebreak. Sure, it wasn't everyone, but we had a reason to like them. their ability tied into our gameplay. Then there's others like Price, Soap, Makarov type characters, players like them since they were storied through the campaign. Vanguard just gave us a bland array of skins with a leveling path attached. It just came off as tacked on, like, hey, what should we do here? Put in operator levels to farm retention so they have more stuff to grind for, instead of it being a thought out reward like the hero gear was. It doesn't feel like there was real thought or passion behind anything, and that's the hardest thing anyone can explain. But when the players feel like the people who made the game don't care, why would they? Why would they remember it? They don't, and that's exactly what happened. This was the moment everyone really figured out, alright, they really don't give a shit about 6v6 anymore, and it shows. All this game is just going through the motions, happy they took money from some poor soul, and unfortunately, I am now one of them. So zombies might be fun to look into, right? No, it's not. I'm not even gonna break any of these maps down, there's literally no point. If you were against what I said about the multiplayer being soulless and not having a character, Vanguard Zombies will make sure you understand how fucking wrong you are. Even though I never played this game, I heard the rumblings of Duranfang or whatever it's called with how bad it is and how boring it is. After playing it for myself for the first time, this honestly feels like a mode that was created in a weekend. This is not zombies. This is an equivalent to a mobile game. But it's funny how COD Mobile does have zombies, and it's much better than the launch map Vanguard had. All you are doing here is running around playing little minigames. You go into a teleporter, grab runes, defend an area for a little bit, or do whatever wacky thing the game wants you to do. You teleport back, get some weapons or pack-a-punch, then keep playing minigames. That's the loot. This is not fun, nor does it have any longevity. You experience everything in one match. That's all I have to say about this. There is literally nothing deeper. We have 4 maps in total, and 2 of them are like this. So if you don't enjoy this minigame bonanza, that's 2 maps off the table. Luckily, the other 2 are round-based. We got a remake of Shinonuma, which I use loosely because all they did was add one area with a pack-a-punch in it. Still, it's fine. Shinonuma isn't a bad map or anything. Just unfortunate we didn't get an original one. And funny, I don't think Duranfang is original either. I believe it's just a sectioned off part of the Red Star multiplayer map. But I think the best part about Vanguard Zombies has to be the final map. Because all they did was take the third map, it was like this desert looking area where you played minigames of course. They changed the lighting on it, made it round based, and called it something different. I honestly don't know if I've ever seen something so lazy in my life. They didn't even change the perk locations. They just took map 3 and made it map 4. People complain about remakes, but this is a whole new level of lazy. Like, what time constraints were they on here? Like, seriously, I'm actually speechless. Like, what can anyone even say about this? That concluded the Zombies experience, meaning there is not a single original round-based map in this game. If you really want to be an asshole and drive home the point of how breaking wooden walls and leveling up operators in multiplayer is genuine passion, sure, but not a soul on the planet could argue that about this. Coming from the multiplayer and going to zombies, it just reinforces to me how Vanguard was just a $60 Warzone DLC and not a game. You can't tell me anyone cared to make this. If you are recycling the third map as the fourth map in the same game, clearly you gave up partway through. This map was free and I still feel like I wasted money on it. It's just so sad and quite eye-opening. Most Zombies fans were not happy with this. It was ridiculed massively for obvious reasons, and if I really continued to harp on this mode, I'm just repeating a sentiment most people have. Vanguard Zombies is not good, even in the moments where they tried something new, like them changing how getting perks works, forcing you to buy it 3 times. The first time is free, then it increases in price until you reach level 4, clearly doing the Temu version of what Cold War had with upgrading perks. So another moment of monkey see, monkey do with Cold War or Modern Warfare 2019. They also tried doing something with these sacrificial hearts, giving you upgrades throughout the match by spending them at these altars. but most of the upgrades are just things we've already used before, like putting dead wire on your gun or a perk upgrade from Cold War. We also have field upgrades again, but all of them are from Cold War. How much copy pasting was done here? The lack of character with Vanguard is just astounding. There is so much that got copy pasted from either Cold War or Modern Warfare 2019 in both multiplayer and zombies. It genuinely blows my mind. It makes you feel as if you're playing the same game you've already played, just worse. And of course, it needs to be said, throughout zombies history, a lot of stuff has been copy pasted, but there was always an iteration somewhere. They tried something different while making it feel the same. They didn't pretend it was different when it is the same. Round-based zombies in Vanguard comes off as just a worse version of Cold War, implementing all the same systems but changing them slightly to pretend they're different things, when in reality they're not. When it comes to the minigame thing, maybe some people like it. I doubt it's many, but definitely someone out there enjoys it, which is great for them. But you can't tell me, seriously, that any passion was put behind this. If there was, I think the minigame maps would actually have replayability instead of being a camo grinding simulator for Warzone. I love how even in zombies, you can't escape this game's reasoning for existence. You would assume, like, Cold War laid down a foundation for a new era of zombies. So what Vanguard should have done is iterate on it, put their own spin on zombies, add new creative wonder weapons, fix up some of the mechanics people disliked in Cold War. That would have given zombies character here. It would feel similar, but also different. That's what the power of creativity is. Instead, it's a restricted, in the minigame's case, soulless, I'm guessing rushed, half-assed mode that exists because it needs to. How else are the Warzone players going to have more camos to use, right? Fuck the people that spend $60 on a game to enjoy it or play it, maybe have fun with it. The only people who can be happy are the ones who play Warzone. And I don't even think they were, actually. From research I've done, Warzone was getting a lot of backlash during this time period. So how nice is that? You make a $60 DLC for it and people still hate it. After going through these modes, with each passing hour, it became more apparent to why no one cares about this game. I, of course, didn't have a segment for the campaign, because what's the point? Like, seriously, what is the point of this game? After the emotionless, soulless, dead experience that I sat through for like 10 to 15 hours in both multiplayer and zombies, why would anyone want to sit through a campaign that you can smell the vanilla extruding out of? I don't want to play it. Call me lazy, but if you can tell me a single reason to why I should, I will eat crow. Judging on what I just dealt with though, I know I'm not missing anything. I can just replay World at War instead. A part of me is just speechless at this game. This is the worst Call of Duty game I've ever played. Like, you could erase it from existence and no one would know. There is no bigger signification of failure than a piece of entertainment that you purchase with real money that makes you feel nothing. I didn't even mention the problems during this game's life cycle, like the thermite light shows, riot shield issues, crashing and performance problems, because I didn't need to. Those things aside from the riot shield and shotgun terrible balance problem, all those things are gone. Skill-based matchmaking is basically non-existent, the connection is fine, yet the game is still worthless. All you're left with is a video game that has no real personality, charm, or character. Just a piece of entertainment that is designed to be familiar enough so people who play Warzone buy it. They were just checking boxes. Put in the campaign, put in a multiplayer, make sure all the Warzone players have things they can recognize, slap a zombies mode together so players can grind camos for Warzone and we can retention farm them. Then check the final box of taking $60 away from someone who thinks they are going to be buying a game they can have fun with, but it's just a soulless game that doesn't exist for any reason remotely close to that. But funny, I think I found what we can all remember this game for. We can remember Call of Duty Vanguard as the game that showed us how little regular multiplayer actually matters. There you go, Vanguard. I gave you the soul that you didn't have.